MandaloreGaming Stronghold and Stronghold Crusader HD review. Like I said, I played those games when I was really young. They were really popular in Poland and had a hilarious Polish dub. But I remember very little of them. I remember I think they're kinda like Age of Empires, like city building and unit making, and I don't remember them that well. That's why I kind of wanted to refresh my memory with this video and see if any of that hits, you know.
Wolves are attacking, my lord.
The advisor was always so like monotone and almost bored, even when he was announcing that you're about to fucking lose everything you built.
We await your orders.
After finishing last year off with some interesting games, I figured that I'd start the new year off with something lighter. I said lighter. Okay, there we go. This is Stronghold. It's a castle simulator and a real-time strategy game. The original Stronghold came out in 2001, which was then followed up by Stronghold Crusader in 2002. There's also another one, but
I am way more familiar with Crusader.
We'll save that. Then in 2013, all of the games were released in HD. Well, sort of. They added widescreen support, fixed some bugs and compatibility issues, but it wasn't a visual overhaul or anything. I'm alright with this. It was cheap price-wise, and if you already own the original versions on Steam or GOG, you got all the new ones for free. So this was more like getting a nice patch out of nowhere. To give some background, I got this for Christmas in 2001. I actually still have it. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but back then the game took me by surprise. Because if you play this game on Christmas, the game knows it.
Merry Christmas, my liege.
But it goes even beyond that.
Greetings, Lord Mark. Greetings, Lord John.
I tried a lot of names.
That's
Stronghold
cool.
knew just about every one.
Greetings, Megadeth.
Yeah, I looked and there are a lot of names here. It's not essential or anything, but it is pretty neat. Anyway, let's get started.
It's better integration and more names probably than that stupid fucking gimmick from Fallout 4.
Life in the old castle. Happy times them were. The people were all so much friendlier.
The intro sets up a darker, dirtier, more true-to-life view of the Middle Ages. Everything is dirty, all the people are sick. We're not opening up with a classy chess game and a nice castle. This sets the game up for being grittier.
Oh yes, and then there were the neighbors.
So is Stronghold a dark, gritty game where hard choices will have to be made? Well, not really. But yes, a lot of people will die to fire. That part is true. Right from the menu screen, you'll find that Stronghold has a lot of game modes. There are combat maps, economy maps, and of course free build. That's not even counting the map maker. It's not on Warcraft 3 levels, but what's here is solid. There are still tons of custom maps out there to download. Still, if you're brand new, you'll probably want to start with the military campaign. It doubles as the tutorial, introducing new mechanics with each mission. So for the time being, I'm going to focus on the campaign. The story is very simple. You play as the son of the king's advisor. Your father was killed by mystery bandits and the king has been imprisoned. Now the inbred version of Dead Cell rules the land and it's up to you to stop them. The narrative doesn't have any complicated themes or really anything noteworthy. The writing and dialogue is also very simplistic, but it's clearly aimed at kids, probably between 10 and 12 years old. The campaign never outright says what age—
That's a weird age group to aim for with a fucking strategy game, but those were different times. Like, young gamers back at that time would try fucking anything to see if it's a good video game, and like I said, strategy games were not off the table. Strategy games were very much actually the hotness, which was crazy. Like Civilization, Age of Empires, Stronghold was so popular amongst kids. Fucking kids. Imagine that now. Imagine trying to push a strategy game to fucking people who play Fortnite or Apex Legend daily. That is insanity, man. Maybe they saw how kids loved Age of Empires. I forget exactly when the Stronghold came out. Yeah, like basically the entire thing I said sums it up. Strategy games back then were really fucking hot, man. Different times,
You're
completely
supposed to
different
be,
times.
but it's heavily implied you're way too young to be doing this. Enemies will refer to you as a child. So for me, and probably most of you, it's not worth getting into. It would be like me turning on a show made for little children and complaining that it's not stimulating me enough. To give an example, there's a character called the Snake who looks like this, and has a catchphrase.
Relax. By the time we return from our hunting trip, the problem will have resolved itself. Trust me. Show some backbone. My contingency plan is already in motion. You'll have your county back soon enough. Trust me.
There's a part in the game where you make a bargain with him. Do you think you would buy a car from this man? Or a hot dog?
Duke de Pouce wishes to meet us in this valley surrounded by cliffs. It looks like it's a trap. Sir Longarm was right.
You get it. Admittedly, the
Yep, when I was a kid, everyone played and loved Age of Empires Total Annihilation and others. I'm blacking on the name. Yeah, Red Alert also. How could I fucking forget? Red Alert was also hot as fuck amongst the youth. That's so crazy. I never like stopped to think about that. Like how like strategy games now are old man games pretty much. So weird how that completely flipped.
animations for the characters are a lot of fun, and the voice acting is fantastic. While the characters are one-dimensional and predictable, they bring such enthusiasm to the role that you want to see what happens with them next.
And it's not like there weren't any hot FPS games around, right? Like a lot of people played Quake, Unreal Tournament, whatever. But it's like fucking crazy that you could, with the same group of friends, you could jump from doing insane fucking trick shots in Quake or in Unreal Tournament, and you could hop on a game of Age of Empires or Heroes of Might and Magic, which took like fucking weeks to complete. Man, that was such a fucking incredible time to be playing games. Jesus Christ.
It's unbelievable. I'm running out of counties and they'll be coming for me next. I'm doomed.
Will suck dying much pain. I pull out teeth, cut off toes, break knees. Most fun I have for a long time. How did you do? Did you hunt down your prey?
Not again.
When you hit him with the alpha male wolf growling. Man. I wonder when and why games specifically changed. I don't get it. They straight up, there were just better games back then. And it was always about the quality of a video game. Like, the game had to be good to be popular. There weren't any games that were popular and they played bad. Around mid-2000s to especially late 2000s, like 2008 and above, games went from being games to being a spectacle. Assassin's Creed is the best example of that. Assassin's Creed 1 fucking sucks dick to play. But it's a neat idea. It's a neat spectacle, you know. And like, we hit that point where games just changed like that. Also, a competitive game genre grew. It was always there, like Counter-Strike was always there. Quake even had competitions, you know. But like, at some point, competitive genre like overtook the strategy games share of the market somehow, and like they started pushing those games, and now it's a lot of stagnation. We get the same games, battle royales, FPSs, competitive shooters. Like, how many fucking strategy games are coming out now, man? Civilization? What else? I guess a new Age of Empires came out. There was just more variety, I feel. Like, I genuinely feel there was more variety in games back in the day.
I don't believe it! I'm surrounded by idiots! How can you have beaten my troops?
The pig addresses the people of his newly conquered county.
Your realm is mine now, so do as I say. All will pay a high tax and live a life of pain.
You know what? The pig has some pretty good ideas. I won't write him off yet. Now if you want to save England, or maybe America, you'll need to build, collect, and fight your way to victory. Since we're already on the subject, let's talk more about the game's presentation. Like I said before, the HD version doesn't overhaul the graphics, but they really didn't need to. I think the sprite work has held up incredibly well. All of the different unit and building types are sharp and easily distinguishable. Buildings also have cross-sections, so you can see all the workers doing their thing inside. This is a game where your tiny village can become gigantic, and you'd think things could get cluttered up, but it never happened to me. The visuals are detailed enough to look pleasant, but not so much that it starts getting confusing when your town gets busy. Most of the buildings have these 3D animations and sound effects and tell you where the workers are. It makes it simple to see what's going on at a glance, rather than needing icons or menus everywhere. It's very clean. All of the buildings have a lot of different animations. In most RTS games, someone just whacks a tree and then brings the Minecraft blocks home. Here you see them chop down the tree, bring the logs home in trips, and then refine them into planks. Then they drop them off in town. And here comes the local Fletcher. He turns the wood into bows or crossbows and then drops it off at the armory. Besides being some neat detail, it also shows you how efficient your city is. If this guy is hobbling across town, something's wrong. Some maps can be more confusing, so you do have the option to flatten buildings and also flatten the terrain. This is good for planning out your street layouts and also for fights that get too confusing. The HD version also added a zoom out feature. This is great for the bigger maps, not so much the smaller maps, and it's a good addition. You can rotate the map, but some buildings will rotate with you.
Man, I really barely remember. Barely remember playing this game, but those are some really neat fucking features I wish were in other strategy games I played. The fact the villagers have lives that produce weird things as they go about their job was so cool. Yeah, I remember Pharaoh was like that too. And that fucking ancient Egyptian city simulator, that was really fucking cool part of it. Always appreciate details like that.
You're given a lot of tools to help you tell what's going on, but sometimes it's just not enough. Some maps can feel like playing a tower defense game. Well, it kind of is. But I had situations where I thought I was plugging up holes, then the enemy comes and it's like, oh, they can walk over those rocks. So that can be annoying. Sometimes you want to make a building but someone is wandering around there, well you have to wait for them to leave. It's also worth mentioning that some units have way choppier animations than others. It's the one thing I wish the HD version had updated. Still, those are my only gripes with graphical and building stuff. As for the sound, I want you to meet the advisor. His voice is burned into my brain.
Sight your granary, sire. Our granary stocks are growing, sire. Our treasury is emptying.
It's almost a problem for me. Not only do I hear him when I see him, but if I see, like, a similarly hooded man, I think of him. While there's nothing really stand out about the sound effects, the voices really stick with you.
Wood needed. Wood stocks are too low, sire.
Can't place that there, my lord. Can't place that there, my lord.
Double rations. Great.
No taxes is good taxes. That's my motto.
The callouts are, once again, a good way to keep tabs on things without using menus. Sure, you can easily check, but you can also click on a peasant.
We have so much food nowadays, I'm getting really fat.
The soundtrack is great and changes based on what's going on. The music seems authentic for the setting. Period-appropriate instruments with a dash of Gregorian chanting. When the chanting comes out before a mission, that's when you know it's serious. Uh-oh. Onto the gameplay. Most of the single-player game modes have a difficulty. These adjust a few factors. For example, if it's an economic mission, you'll need to gather more materials. An easier difficulty for a siege attack gives you more troops. If it's a siege defense mission, then the attackers will get less troops. So thankfully the difficulty doesn't adjust the stats or efficiency of anything, just the quantity of them. The game is still fairly relaxed on the normal difficulty, and on the hardest, to make some maps a decent challenge. You don't need to radically alter your playstyle for a harder setting. You can somewhat divide Stronghold into the city building and management side, and the real-time strategy game side.
These features are what stopped me from going back to Age of Empires for a while as a kid. I really missed them, especially when it came to fire physics. Sieges were great in multiplayer because you could kill the villagers, making the supplies, and you would know your opponent has limited soldiers since no new gear would be made. Yeah, that's always great in like resource-based games where you could hit the back lines. I remember like in StarCraft kinda had that to a lesser degree, obviously, where if you killed a bunch of fucking drones collecting resources for your enemy, even though you didn't kill like any of his buildings or offensive things, he would really feel that.
The military is dependent on your economy in several game modes, so I'll talk about the management side first. Also known as getting into agriculture. There are 2 keys to survival. One is that your lord must stay alive, and 2 is that your city must stay alive. Now, in order to attract new slaves, you need to attract persons with freedom disability, you need to have some amenities. These are the
workers, peasants, the working class, you know.
Dark Ages, so food is a good starting point. You can eventually get people happy through advanced methods like religion, getting everybody hammered, and entertainment. Of course, people might slack off if there's entertainment. You could build a garden, but OSHA hasn't been invented yet. That means you can put Winnie the Pooh dangerously close to the children's maypole. Now, he could get tired of the Shakira routine. It's possible he might be fed up from work and then feed up on villagers in the town center. That's what we call a bear market. Disregarding the finer points of economy, if your popularity is high, people come to the castle. Actions people don't enjoy include starving them of food, raising the taxes too high, and not preventing home invasions. Those make people want to leave the castle. You don't have to just make wholesome entertainment. You can also build bad stuff. These will scare people, but make them work harder. When I was younger, I would only build a single gallows. I thought it would be for criminals and quick. Now that I'm older, I understand mankind's depravity more. I've opened up some more options. It's all about maintaining a balance between popularity and efficiency. Because on one hand, sure, making wheat into bread is the most efficient food source. But it takes a lot of materials and workers to set up. It needs a lot of space and time and special farmland for the wheat. All the bakeries, you're gonna need a lot of bakeries. And people are happier if they have a variety of food. I've been to school. Depending on only one food source is risky. It's up to you to figure out how to balance it all and account for any disasters. You can't make booze if the hops are ruined. No cheese if the cows die of disease. Well, we could do something.
Here comes the cow.
Don't forget about the rabbits. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and you should prepare. Rabbits can join the invaders for all I know. Things could look fine, then it turned out a woodcutter led 5,000 wolves home. Don't let him eat the boss. These aren't Age of Empires wolves, these are Stronghold wolves. They're relentless. They're evil, smelly wolves who litter and have soul patches. They don't deserve life.
Always ready. No problem.
There always seems to be something to work on, whether it's trading in the market or fortifying your town more. It's not the most intricate game compared to other city managers, but what's here is solid, and it's fun to see all the components moving. This is where military units come in. You need a free worker, money, and materials to train them. So to expand, you need more housing for free workers, weapons manufacturing centers, and of course, ways to get more money. Then there's the castle building itself, like constructing towers, drawbridges, traps. Keep caged up war dogs, make emplacements for fire arrows, and even put siege weapons on the big towers.
Why isn't this in the game?
So once again, the building and management part is great, but let's talk about the combat. It's refreshing that every unit in the game remains useful. Spearmen are weak, but they can push away siege ladders. Crossbows penetrate armor, but don't fire nearly as fast as regular archers. Swordsmen are very slow, but can dish out and take a lot of damage. Macemen are fast and can break through the armor of swordsmen, but you need a lot to be effective since their armor is very weak. So it avoids a rock, paper, scissors formula. That part is really interesting. In a siege, you can use tunnelers, fill in the moat, build different engines that use different ammunition types. Combat has so many options. The biggest problem is the control and the pathfinding. Troops only have 3 stances. There are no formations, there's no attack move, there's nothing that a lot of basic RTS games had in that time. The result is moving groups of units at once can feel very clumsy, and then during that you start getting pathfinding issues. It's especially bad when you're trying to climb up a wall. Check this out. Right here I'm putting a siege tower on the wall. Except even when it's down, I can't order my units to just climb on the wall and attack everything around them. I have to click on a specific person to get them all up there. It's the same thing with ladders, and that is a very strong man, by the way. The thing is, after about 10 to 15 seconds, the game will let you climb up on the walls or behind the walls with a regular movement. This is annoying when you're dealing with a lot of layered walls, and you will be. When the units actually get on the walls, then combat plays itself out. The AI is also afflicted by some weird pathfinding. The AI makes a lot of bad decisions in general. They don't charge at once, but send their units out in waves. Like here when they send vulnerable units out. Or here when they charge ladders with archers, and archers probably aren't going to be climbing the wall. There could be a reason they don't all charge, and I suspect it's due to the most powerful unit in the game. You've seen it already. In most RTS games, fire is just a damage indicator for a building. Not in Stronghold.
Need some muscle? What?
There's really nothing like having questionable pathfinding
That's so fucking cool that you can just burn the enemy's army down.
and invisible fire traps. It's insanely effective, especially when your enemy will still walk single file into it. At least now I'm inside past... Nope, it's here too. If this game has a meta, it's fire. I really don't know what else to say about it. It's incredibly satisfying to pull it off, but when it's done to you, man.
Let it burn! We have survived the enemy's onslaught.
There's no real counter to it besides trying to bait it out. Once you're caught in the fire, it's between you and God. That reminds me, this game doesn't have a single-player skirmish mode. I'm gonna guess that the AI couldn't handle it, but I know a game that does have it.
Greetings, sire. The desert awaits you.
Stronghold Crusader was sold as a standalone game, but it's more of an expansion pack if you've played the first game. Our setting has moved half a world over. The game now takes place in the Holy Land, a time when religious Europeans looked towards the lands of Christ. They looked, and they didn't like it. This time around there are 4 campaigns with 4 missions each. They're pseudo-historical events rather than the story of the first game, which is fine. Like the original game, it's mainly for teaching you the mechanics and the new stuff. The original game had lots of siege maps and invasion maps to play around with, and Crusader has none of those. Instead, there's a campaign of 50 skirmish missions and a bonus campaign of 30 more. And you could set up a standard game of it with your own parameters. What the first game lacked is now the main game mode. Then again, they still have free build. Most of the buildings have a new look to reflect the setting, and that goes for the units as well. There are also a handful of new buildings, but the biggest change comes from the new units. They're Arabic mercenaries. You only need free workers and gold to hire them. This means you can rush in the first seconds of the game. However, some units like slingers are effective in groups and cheap to recruit, so you can counter a rush by giving your people rocks. Some of the new units are just worse versions of their European counterparts, but hey, you can get them out quickly. Then you have the more interesting ones. You can now use the harassment plague of horse archers. Assassins are the first sneaky boys in the game. They can only be detected from close range and they climb up walls. If they stand on a gate, they'll open it right up. This is a cool option for punishing someone who is overextending with walls. The new units are the biggest addition, but things were changed in other areas as well. Let's look at the presentation. Some of the old UI icons now have color. Alright. Of course, the biggest change is the environment. It's a lot more obvious where you can plant crops now. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of these maps are much, much bigger than the original game. Some of them are meant to accommodate 4v4s. The new desert landscape makes resources easily identifiable. It's nice, but unfortunately my biggest problem is still here. It's still difficult to tell what's going on with the cliffs and rocks. You still need to be extra careful with walls. I do admit that it happens a lot less often compared to before. Most of the maps are much better about it. The spirit of the character performances has also carried over. In fact, they might have turned it up a bit.
A message from the Caliph.
Remove your army from sight of my castle walls at once! Watch your back, knight! Watch your back! You have not seen the last of me! Infidel!
Okay, I remember that specific voice line, man. In Polish it was Pilnuj swoich pleców, rycerzu. Pilnuj swoich pleców. Oh man, the Polish dubbing for this game was fucking hilarious. Stronghold Crusader was also very moddable. If you didn't like the look of the new walls, for instance, you could just replace the sprites. That's very fucking cool. From what I remember, Crusader is like the more popular one, right? Than the basic game.
A message from the Lionheart.
The smell of victory is in the air, my friend.
Then you have the new music. This stuff is good.
Those are some nice tunes, goddamn. I really need to go back to this game and like play it for myself, because like just looking at it doesn't bring back too many memories. I don't know why. It's been like such a long time since I played this.
It is not common for a game to get a Middle Eastern soundtrack. The production values are excellent. Sometimes the songs are complemented by the European music, and sometimes it goes the other way. I find it fascinating to listen to, and it complements the visuals perfectly. The gameplay has gone through a rebalance. Some buildings produce ridiculously faster. Alcohol and religion give significantly more happiness. Now you can utilize bad stuff more to increase efficiency. Or you could squeeze out some insane new tax rates. Fire traps are much rarer, but there are new units that can cause fires. Except that now you can build a well. Now when there's a fire, Jerusalem's bravest can go out and take care of it. Your people will still give their life to drop off some cheese or bread, so you can't save everybody. Overall though, the pathfinding and AI is a lot better. The army is still lacking mechanics and the buildings still can't make rally points. But the AI and pathfinding improvements are great. Yeah, it's still clunky, but combat is more fun and you feel more in control. The original Stronghold is still well worth checking out. It's definitely a more relaxed game compared to its successor. Some people just consider it a tutorial for this game, and I can understand why. Crusader turns the game into an RTS with a more in-depth economy. The combat isn't a game changer, but it's improved. I do wish that you could properly play the forces of Allah, but you all share the same pool of stuff. So consider it an expansion of things you had before, rather than something entirely new. So despite their flaws, these are solid games, and I'd recommend— I forgot.
Greetings, sire. The desert awaits you.
Okay, Extreme is like Crusader, except now you can have 10,000 units.
10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. You can also use powers anywhere on the map, which charge from this bar over here. Summon some knights. Get rushed by hundreds of enemies at the same time. Be an angry D&D DM and drop rocks on people. Hey, wait. The rocks didn't even hit him yet. Are these hit scan rocks? Brave the Crusader Extreme Trail. I can only beat 2 of them by rushing assassins. My victories stopped pretty quickly. There's this one map that's a 3v1 and the enemies never stop coming at you. This might be one of the hardest RTS games I've ever played, and probably for all the wrong reasons. I tried an extreme random map and that was interesting. Someone out there said, what if the computer wasn't covered in lions, but the player... What if the player was covered in lions? They're sleeping. They're sleeping next to the spawn. I've just started the game and someone's dead. I sure wish that I could live over there where the lions don't live.
What the fuck is this a mod? Is this like an official add-on? What the fuck is this?
I can't do it. I can't look at it. What do you say about something like this? This was sold at retail 6 years after Crusader came out. It's included in the HD version for free now, so who cares? So that's Stronghold.
That's so weird.
I never bothered to try the sequels. I think it holds up nicely, and you can get it cheap on GOG, Steam, or a lot of other places, I think. I could recommend them, the first especially, to just about anybody. So, I'll see you next time. Thanks for everyone backing me on this for reasons I don't understand. I appreciate it. Announcements, the next might not be a good idea. Alright, more videos to come soon.
Suction!
Okay, and that's everything for today. Yeah, this tingled some of the memories, but not quite enough to my liking, so I'll probably have to buy the game for myself and play it in my free time to maybe try to dig up those memories. Super cool and unique strategy game, god damn, I forgot what a different focus this has compared to something like Age of Empires, compared to something like Civilization, compared to all those other strategy games that could feel a little bit samey. This is a completely different vibe, I think. Yeah, that's actually cool. And yeah, thank you for joining me. More things to come as always.